Welcome to the Only Child Review. Today, we're going to discuss, discussion will take place regarding, we already discussed time, but time has hit me very personally relatively recently. Now, on this show, I tend to wax philosophical about a number of things. I think it's important to talk in terms of the philosophy of a thing whenever really possible, because I think there's the philosophy of anything is the core. It is it's the backbone of whatever springs forth from the central core series of ideas. So I'm all about speaking philosophically regarding time and anything else really. But with philosophy and discussions of that bent, what happens is there's this displacement from the conversation and subject at hand, the topics and discussion, the content, and the provider of that content, or the peruser of that content. I think that it's very common for us to get really intellectual. I speak specifically of myself to myself about this sort of thing because I've been kind of hit recently with the immediacy and intimacy of time and how it relates to us, or more specifically, how we as human beings, as perishable goods, relate to time. And so, rather than discussing the pace of life, as I put it last, on week 14 or something like that, week 7, I forgot what it was. I think it was week 7. Anyway, it's the immediacy of time, the intimacy, the closeness, the weightiness of time that we're going to discuss today, that I'm going to discuss today. I sound like I'm trying to be a teacher of some kind, and I'm really not. This is just me sharing thoughts and being me. But I will say, what has been on my mind very much of late is mortality. Mortality. And this is a big deal. I'm getting older. I am, what am I now? I'm 29 years old, and that's totally cool. I'm really enjoying being 29 years old. I am married, and I'll be honest, we're getting there. We're getting there. Kids are a consideration. A big deal. I'm an only child, and as may be clear, and the idea of having kids is pretty wacky anyway, right? And my wife, being of a culture that certainly encourages multiplicity, as it is, I definitely, I'm definitely a little. I'm just thinking baby, to be honest. I'm very seriously. I know that she and I are in a place where the considerations of children, not child but children, is very real and forthcoming. So it's something that's really been on my brain. And what's happened, I'm giving this to you. I'm presenting these ideas actually well after they had entered my mind and I let kind of stew for a bit, because really over the past while I've been thinking, life's been a bit rough. We're in the midst of a recession here in the States. I am indeed employed, so deeply blessed, very grateful. But I'm in a new field altogether. I'm very grateful and blessed to say it's my dream field. But it's tricky, and I'm not exactly where I want to be. And so there's this sense of, there's this give and take, as always, with time and effort and potential. It's a matter of weighing what limited time and space you've got with what you want to do, with what you'd like to present to the world, with what you'd like to be and become. In the context of this world. So things have been a little tricky for me internally, but I've boiled it down to something that's really frustrating me. My wife called it out the other day. She said, man, you're getting kind of obsessed with time. And I thought, time? I definitely take my time very seriously. This is great to me. It takes time, as I've noted before. It takes time to be able to just kind of pull out of the world and drop yourself into nature and just kind of enjoy, just kind of be. And a lot of that has to do with location. Does it take you 4 hours to get to the nearest park? Well, that becomes an event. It doesn't become a walk in the park per se, to me anyway. It requires so much planning that it kind of, for me, doesn't strip it of all its fun, but somewhat dampens the fun. So anyway, I'd consider time in this kind of bottled up sense. You have time, and then you have your life, and everything kind of flows and is as is, and you just kind of make the most of it, and you enjoy it, hopefully, and are happy and content by the time you head out. But I think what's really gotten to me lately in terms of mortality. The reason I mention the kids in particular is because when you give birth to a whole new being, when you're fully responsible for a person who depends on you in his and her perhaps entirety, it's one of those. It's just, I mean, I've never done it. I'm new to the whole marriage thing still, and I certainly haven't had a kid yet. But it's a bonkers concept, and it's a wild, amazing, thrilling, frightening prospect. I look forward to having the youngsters, but because of the dependence that they'll have on me that has really kind of gotten me. And it's not because I don't feel I'm mature enough or adult enough. No, there are kids who are having kids. I feel ahead of the game in some respects, but nonetheless, it's a freaky engagement. Freaky simply because it's so mammoth. Like I said, so heady, But the dependence kind of got me because it means that I have to be not only super responsible and there, present, but I have to make sure to train this child to, God willing, Baruch Hashem, exist well beyond my lifetime. Go into the future without me and feel okay about it. Be stable. And that's something that really has gotten to me. The mortality, not just of myself, and not just, of course, in regard to my children, but really what's put this last couple months into kind of an interesting, I wouldn't say tailspin, emotional or psychological tailspin of any kind. I would just simply say I've been a little off in a bit of a funk, you might say.